I'm joined now by the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So the Oversight Committee made big news yesterday when they voted 8-2 to compel the release of the Epstein Files. Now that that's in play, you're making some news right here with your latest overture to James Comer, who's the chairman of that committee. Can you explain what that letter said?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really important now that we've actually got some level of support from Republicans on this committee to actually subpoena the actual Epstein files. The first thing that was important is getting James Comer to agree that he would actually honor the subpoena and sign it, which he's compelled to do. He's already said he'd do that, which is great. That is an important first step. And then next is actually he's got to issue the subpoena expeditiously, quickly, and then demand that the files get actually sent to us also in a timely manner. And so we asked in that letter, we set a series of questions to make sure we get those documents appropriately. But most importantly, we've asked them to commit to a 30-day window of the subpoena. So once the subpoena is out, we want to receive the files, the videos, the documents, all within 30 days. And so we expect, hopefully, Chairman Comer to accept those terms. It's very basic, but we need to push him along here. So it's important that he knows that the American public is carefully watching his actions and that we need those files immediately.
So within the motion that passed 8-2 in the subcommittee, were the terms of the release not included in there? Is that why we have to go through this process now where we have to spell out the terms that you want Comer to abide by?
Right. There's a specific kind of motion for subpoenas that we put together to get those out. That was made. And then as far as the terms for the subpoena, that's almost always up to the chairperson of the committee. And so that, of course, because they're in the majority, is Comer. And so, but the most important piece of this is that he already agreed he's going to issue the subpoena. Now, he just issued the subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell and her deposition. That he did that within days of oversight voting on that subpoena. So we're hopeful he's also going to do this within days as well.
So on the Maxwell front, we know that Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, sprinted over to Maxwell while she's in prison so that Blanche could have the opportunity to speak with her before Congress did. Do you think that there is some reason to look into here, without sounding conspiratorial, that Todd Blanche, I guess under this guise of transparency, even though if we actually wanted transparency, they would just release the Epstein files, but under the guise of transparency, went immediately to Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to speak with her before Congress had the opportunity to do so?
We should absolutely be concerned. I mean, let's first be very clear. I mean, Maxwell, we know, is a convicted sex predator who is an accomplice to Jeffrey Epstein, who essentially lied on the stand, has committed horrific crimes, has been involved in abusing young women and girls. And so on her own, she's not someone that can be trusted per se. Then you have a sentence that she has, of course, that
Right.
she's now serving. And of course, the DOJ and Trump, there is absolute concern that she's going to try to cut some kind of deal and essentially say what Donald Trump wants her to say for some kind of reduced sentence or pardon. So that's a concern, which is why it's so important that we get the files, because if she's going to then be deposed by the Oversight Committee, and I'll be at that deposition, if she's going to actually be deposed by us and the Republicans, both of us in that room, we're going to be able to hopefully corroborate whatever she is saying with actual documents. We just cannot take her word for it when she is now working with Trump's Department of Justice. So
Right.
I think Donald Trump's trying to get a fast one here past us and thinking we're going to somehow just accept what she says as the truth. Absolutely not. We weren't born yesterday. We're going to get those documents and make sure that what she tells us is aligned with what's actually been documented in these files and all these papers.
What if she doesn't? What if you find inconsistencies between what she tells you and what the Epstein files actually say?
I mean, look, that's why it's important for oversight Democrats to be in the room in that deposition. We're going to make sure that the deposition is done in a way that focuses on justice, that centers the victims, and that is not some sort of Republican sideshow to exonerate Donald Trump, who
Right.
we know is in the Epstein files and was, as you know, just recently told by the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi that he was in there, which is why we're probably getting this massive reversal.
Is there some concern, though, that there's no incentive for Ghislaine Maxwell to tell the truth? Because worst case scenario, she's caught in a lie on behalf of Donald Trump because maybe he offered her some deal to reduce her sentence, or maybe even has some pardon dangling in front of her for the end of his term. But she tells some lie. Ultimately, if perjury charges were referred to the DOJ, it's up to Pam Bondi and by extension Donald Trump to actually enforce that. And even if they did enforce it, Trump still has the pardon power, which he's shown he's perfectly willing to abuse. And so what's the incentive here for Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to tell the truth, knowing that the very people who she may be striking a deal with right now are also the people who would be charged with enforcing any perjury charges against her?
Well, I think what the concern for her should be that she would be lying to the United States Congress, and whatever deal she wants to cut on the side, there is huge danger for her to lie to the U.S. Congress, particularly under a subpoena and an official deposition. And so she's going to have to weigh all of that herself and know that we're going to have documents that it's going to actually be able to verify what she's saying and if it's true or not. And so all of that are going to be decisions that she's going to have to make with her lawyers. And I'm hopeful that she realizes that she has done horrific actions, crimes to so many people. And she should, I hope, want to make amends to all of that. And so we expect and hope that she'll give us the truth, but are very much prepared for her to try to cut some sort of deal with Donald Trump and the DOJ.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that she's not going to do it out of the kindness of her heart or out of some idea of benevolence. She's going to do what's best for her. We already know that she is a liar because there's plenty of documentation proving that she's lied in court or said whatever she has to say to help herself. And she knows that the cop on this beat is going to be Pam Bondi from the same DOJ that is right now meeting with her, presumably to cut some type of a deal. So I presume that if and possibly when she does lie, that really the battle here is going to be the court of public opinion, as opposed to hoping for, this DOJ of all DOJs to be able to enforce some action against her.
I think that's right. I mean, look, I think you said it best. We know this is not a good person. She's a known liar. She's not a good person. She's done horrific things. And so it makes the actual collection of the documents and the videos and the files that much more important. Because if she's going to try to cut a deal with the DOJ, if she's going to be deposed, we've got to actually be able to verify that. And without that verification, I'd be very concerned about anything she has to tell us.
Okay, so if and when James Comer actually subpoenas these files and they get released to the Oversight Committee, what's going to be the general public's transparency? What's going to be our insight into what the files actually say? Is it only going to be members of the Oversight Committee or even certain members of the Oversight Committee who actually have some visibility into this stuff? Or is there a way that the files more broadly will be released to the public?
So the files will first come to the Oversight Committee. And so our committee will review those. And we have got obviously a great team of folks, not just members, but of lawyers and others and scholars. So that is first. And then as far as what the next step is, we're right now in the early kind of negotiation process with Chairman Comer about what comes next. But the most important thing is that the representatives of the people acquire those files. And of course, we believe those files should be made available to the public. I mean, this can't just end with the files at the committee. Those files have got to be made public to the American people, and that's our intent.
So Senator Mullen over on, obviously, the Senate side, Republican senator from Oklahoma, objected for a second time to Ruben Gallego's effort to compel the release of the files on the Senate side. Is this largely symbolic because the House already passed its motion compelling the release of these files? Or is there some practical reason that the Senate might want to pass a motion to compel the release of these files on their side?
Yeah, I think the Senate should. I mean, there's no reason why both the House and on our end, the Oversight Committee, and then the Senate also get copies of the files, because we know that these files are going to come first and foremost to the Oversight Committee in the House. But I think the more people that can actually get their hands on the videos and the files and the documents, I think the better. We want transparency. We want accountability. And so I think it's a good effort to also have the Senate try to get the files in their process. And the more folks that actually are trying to compel the DOJ to do the right thing, I think the better it is for the country and for transparency.
In terms of, let's say they're not successful on the Senate side getting this stuff through. Part of the reason that I asked what the level of insight everybody else would have outside of the House Oversight Committee is because let's say they just can't do it on the Senate side. Is there a way that because the Oversight Committee in the House has gotten these files that they can be shared with your colleagues in the Senate?
Yeah, I mean, we first and foremost have got to be evaluated within the committee and within the Oversight committee members. So that's actually where it'll be for a while. As far as the step after is when it's still got to be discussed and further negotiated. And so the important thing is that we get a copy. And there, as you know, the folks on the Democratic side, on our committee side, I mean, you've got folks like Ro Khanna, Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, people that are incredibly good legislators, and they're committed to the truth. And so I fully expect that once we get a hold of these files, we're going to fight like hell to make sure that they're released to the public.
You mentioned that you're going to be at Maxwell's deposition. Can you walk us through what you expect that process to be like? How many other people you expect to be there? Just give us some insight into what you anticipate that will be.
Yeah, I mean, the terms of the exact format of the deposition is still being negotiated, and I will say our oversight team has been already in touch with Ghislaine's lawyers and her team, and so that's being discussed. What will be certain is that James Comer or a representative of James Comer will be there representing the House Republicans, and I will be there on behalf of Oversight Democrats. As far as other members of our committee in attendance, that's also being discussed right now. It'd be great to have other members there as well. And so all of that we will be deciding in the next few days. Right now, August 11th is the likely date in Tallahassee, in Florida, but it's not set. And so that you might see that date shift over the next few days. It's all right now on the negotiating table. But what's important is that we get it done and we get it done quick.
Okay. Well, we will, of course, stay on top of this. I'll have you back on as soon as we have either any movement on this deposition that's going to be in person with Ghislaine Maxwell and whatever Comer says as well with regard to compelling the release of these Epstein files and actually issuing that subpoena to the DOJ. So with that said, again, as always, thanks for keeping this in the zeitgeist right now and fighting as hard as you are. Congressman, appreciate your time.
Thank you.